The following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
We are back. A's baseball, past, present, future. I'm Ralph Tyko with the Comfortably Zoned Radio Network, and one half of our co-hosting team is here. Nancy Finley, how are you?
Present. Fine, thank you.
I'm glad. And Jerry Feitelberg is on assignment. I'm here. Nancy has a guest, and his name is Todd Radom. And I'd like to welcome you to our zone, as it were. How are you, sir?
Good. Thank you so much, Ralph. Hi there, Nancy. Thanks so much for having me today.
You're welcome.
Okay. Well, before I turn it over to Nancy, I want to congratulate you. You are publishing a book. Big moment when the copies arrive, and you got your copies. And, to be in the Library of Congress is pretty cool. Nancy will tell you that.
Oh, I know that. I know that. Oh, it's just, I can imagine you're on cloud nine. I wanted Todd to talk about his career and how he is the one who knows the uniforms and the colors. It's just amazing.
Oh, that's terrific.
Yeah. So
I'm
go for it, Todd. Let me hear what you do.
Yeah. So I'll back it way up very briefly at the beginning, and I will say that I have been an observer of the aesthetics of professional sports, particularly baseball, since I was a kid. I'm a child of the 70s. So what we're going to discuss today, it's right in my wheelhouse. I come from a family of artists. I'm a fourth-generation artist myself. And so I'm a graphic designer and brand consultant, and I've worked in professional sports now for more than 25 years. And for the purposes of our conversation, I have done quite a number of very familiar logos, uniforms, commemorative patches, things like that for Major League Baseball over the past quarter century. I've also designed Super Bowl logos, All-Star Game logos, stuff for the NBA, all kinds of visuals of sports. Yeah, so my interest in this and my knowledge of it runs deep.
Yes. Yes.
I'm kind of a baseball cap aficionado, and I'm wondering if you have ever gotten into baseball cap logos or shapes, sizes, the style of baseball caps over the years. It's gone from wool to now this artificial stuff. I wonder if you could talk to that at all. I'm curious.
Yeah, I mean, the baseball cap went from, I believe it was 8 panels to 6, but don't totally quote me on that because the construction of these things is not necessarily my field of expertise. But that happened a long time ago. We went into pillbox caps with certain clubs for the National League Centennial in 1976. And, of course, the Pittsburgh Pirates perpetrated that upon us for several years thereafter. But baseball caps, like you said,
they still call those caps back on special occasions. The Mets had one. Now, I don't think all teams had them, if I'm not mistaken.
No, that was a National League thing, and it was specifically in 1976 to celebrate the 100th anniversary of the National League. And you're right, the Mets wore them a handful of times. The Cardinals, the Phillies, but really the Pirates made it their own. But to your point, yeah, the construction of the cap, there's a book waiting to be written about this, I'm sure, by somebody. Nancy, you should get on this.
Wow.
People wear baseball caps all over the world in places where they have no idea what baseball is. And, yeah, I mean, the styling and the construction has changed. I'm a little bit more of a relaxed fit cap kind of guy. The current ones that are worn on field are very structured, and if you have the wrong kind of head, you could wind up looking like Lincoln potentially.
Absolutely, and that could be bad. That could be bad if you go to the theater.
Yeah.
but
I'm just listening and learning and amazed at this. I didn't know this about cats.
Yeah.
Okay, get to your expertise now, Todd. Give me, how did you first get into, you're talking about aesthetics. How did you first, when you were a little kid, say, wow, that uniform is cool, that one is too dull, and Charlie Finley comes along and revolutionizes the whole thing, and has a niece, and she gets to be on my co-hostess. See how things run? It's a strange world. But you were, as a little kid, influenced, no doubt, by Charlie's creativity.
No question about it. And again, I am, as we speak, I'm 54 years old. So, like I said, a child of the 70s, and somebody who watched a lot of baseball growing up. I'm a New Yorker, grew up in the New York area.
Oh,
and,
wow.
Oh, really? There you go. I detect a little bit of New York in your voice here, Ralph, so.
Well, it's in my heart. It may not be my voice all the time, but
hey, once it's there, it doesn't leave. I know what you're talking about.
I did grow up in New York. I spent the first 20 years of my life being formed there, and growing up was another story. I didn't grow up. As of today, I've checked, and it didn't happen. But I spent time in Queens, New York, born in Manhattan, and with roots in the Bronx because I spent a great deal of the first 5 years of my life in the Bronx. So where did you reside in the great city, New York?
Well, like you, I was born in Manhattan. I grew up in Yonkers, which for those of you listening who are unfamiliar with the New York metropolitan area, Yonkers is directly north of the Bronx. So as I always say, we could. Literally where I grew up was a 9-mile, I believe, straight shot to Yankee Stadium.
Did you have any real aspirations as a kid to be a Bronxite? Did you say to your parents, "Can we move? Would it be nice?"
Hey, listen, the Bronx of the 70s, as you well know, not exactly a place that you want to be. And both my parents grew up in northern Manhattan, not far from the Bronx. And you do have this, and my
close to the polo grounds, no doubt.
Yes, exactly. Inwood, very tip of Manhattan. Both sets of parents of both my parents, like I said, grew up there. My grandparents lived on West 204th Street. My grandmother, who, were she alive today, would be, oh my goodness, she was born in 1910, but she would tell me great stories about going to the Polo Grounds as a kid with her father. And the games that started 4 o'clock in the afternoon because they were big at the Polo Grounds with the theater crowd. This is in the 1920s. So the history of all of it is just, it's just outstanding.
They would have loved my grandfather, who took me to the Polo Grounds when I was a little kid in 1951 for the first time. And
wow, it's a magical year to be going there, too.
Absolutely. And not only that, he took me to that year Yankee Stadium, and I got to see, as he pointed out, he says, "Don't ever forget, you're watching Joe DiMaggio in center field. It's the last chance, blah, blah, blah." And then he took me to Ebbets Field, where on Bedford Avenue lived his sister, my great-aunt Sonny. And he pointed up to an apartment building in left field, and beyond left field, and he'd say, "That's your Aunt Sonny looking down on the game." And I thought that was really terrific. But I fell in love with the Polo Grounds and the Giants and the colors. And you're talking aesthetics. There's nothing like that black and orange for a Giant fan. I don't know which comes first. Was it the black and orange as opposed to the Met blue that the Dodgers wore and the traditional garb of Major League Baseball, the Yankees. Now, do you consider that the all-time stylish uniform, the Yankees?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think there's an aesthetic here, and Nancy, we can rhapsodize about the beauty of what your Uncle Charlie brought to the game, but I almost feel like we can't compare those uniforms necessarily to the Brooks Brothers classic suits that are the Yankees, the Tigers, right? The Red Sox and the Cardinals,
even the Mets,
and the Mets and the Giants, and some of these clubs have strayed from their roots at times, with the exception of the Yankees and to some degree the Tigers. But you come back,
clubs that did it with any flair and style when they went from hither to yon was Charlie's A's. And I'll let you two talk about what you guys talk about when off the air, and how you became friends and what have you. And I'll leave it to Nancy to guide the interview.
Well, what I found, someone sent me an article Todd did rating our team colors the best of all time. So to put it in a nutshell, I was just so pleased to see that, because I've heard the criticism, and I thought, yeah, this is good. I like the way he did. And then I read his background and thought, oh, that's even better. He's an expert. So I was intrigued to know someone who designed for sports and had a say in the color and could tell the nuance with how the color shades change. Like, Ralph, you mentioned how the A's are using the green from the early 60s, but not really from the 70s, because it's going. I'm wondering though, as the season goes, it might get darker like we did, but
oh, come on, that. Yeah, the fabrics, of course, now are so different, as you know, Nancy and Ralph. And of course, we'll go to the Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, and you'll see an A's jersey from the 70s, or a couple of them next to each other, and it's stunning how different they look. And of course, back in those days, and Nancy, you can address this, these guys didn't change uniforms every game or 2 games or 3 games like they do today.
Well,
I mean, they faded.
Well, yes, actually, that color will fade in the sun. It depends on who's wearing what the most.
It's very interesting. Colors of caps and uniforms sometimes change inadvertently over the years. Mm-hmm. Manufacturers come up with a cheaper shade, or from year to year. I know that the A's caps at one time, really, there was a dull green to them. The gold has always looked yellow. That's part of the nature of the beast.
It's not.
You really can't.
Gold. It's not true gold, but it's called gold. I know what you mean.
Yeah,
it's like a yellow gold. And Nancy, those.
Gold. Go ahead.
So, here we are. The A's are, of course, celebrating the golden anniversary in Oakland, in the East Bay, and it was such a wonderful thing to see that very special night, commemorating the exact night. And, of course, the green in those uniforms, and Nancy, you can speak to this better than anybody, probably, was sort of a misty green, not a Kelly, not the dark in any way, or a forest green. We can get nuance, but it was sort of a lightish, misty green, right?
Well, what happened? This didn't occur to me at the time, but when we won, I remember Uncle Charlie saying exuberantly, "Our colors should be deeper." He would do that, and then they would be deeper. And this came out of every time we won a World Series. So it's strange, but.
And he was absolutely right. That dark Kelly green,
Emerald,
that real rustic, looks great. And the others pale by comparison.
And I'm trying to remember what year it was that we struck the right, that right combination where it was just a beautiful Kelly Emerald. Was it 73, 72? But it was.
I was going to say, I close my eyes and I think of that 73 World Series against the Mets.
That's what I said.
And to me, yeah, that is the in memory, that is the quintessential Oakland A's uniform.
Let me tell you something. They had two primary uniforms, one in green and one in gold. And when they took the team picture, which was in back of who's who in baseball each year, the championship team, color picture of it, they would have the players sit in one guy in a gold uniform, next to him a guy in a green uniform, then a gold uniform. That was the coolest team picture I'd ever seen. Reggie right in the middle, Joe Rudy, but showed off both uniforms, and that I just flashed on that. Charlie had some flair, didn't he?
Yeah. Oh yes. And it was. I hadn't thought until this season how the colors did deepen. And I just remember it had to do with our wins, but they started out when we came out here. They were that lighter green.
Well, and I have to jump in because I will tell you right now on page 72 of my new book, Winning Ugly, a visual history of the most bizarre baseball uniforms ever worn, I have a full-page photo of the 1973 World Champion Oakland A's.
Oh.
And sitting in the front row is Reggie Jackson, and he is wearing a gold or yellow jersey, and so on, green, yellow, and, of course, carved out in the middle are manager Dick Williams and his coaches. They are wearing white with white caps, beautifully set off.
Oh, wow. Ralph, that's the picture you were talking about.
That's exactly the picture. Wow.
Nice.
And even, Joe Romo, the trainer, yeah, he's got a white satin jacket, and you both are probably conjuring up memories of this.
He is probably there.
Yeah, and he is on the right, and he is wearing a green satin jacket. So the orchestration and the styling and modeling of this is totally, to me, and Nancy, from everything that you and I have talked about, this is your Uncle Charlie just absolutely, utilizing color and utilizing the uniform as a marketing tool, and nobody looked like those Oakland A's teams. What a thing to sell off of, aside from the excellence and 3 consecutive World Series titles.
No, where's your booklet?
And isn't it strange that the Steinbrenners used the simplicity and the tradition of the Yankee uniform as a marketing tool? Isn't it?
Oh, yes. I mean, there are, as we all know, people who come to Yankees games from all over the world. If they're in New York, it's kind of a, it's a tourist thing, and they want to see the pinstripes. And so, yes, that, it's the Wall Street button down, like I said.
Know when the Mets came into existence, they took from all 3 previous New York franchises. The Yankees were still there. They took the pinstripes from them. They took the blue from the Dodgers. They took the what they take from the Giants.
The orange.
That's what they took.
And the blue and orange are the official city colors of New York.
Orange, which the Dodger blue, but the orange from the Giants, and that NY insignia, that classic NY National League insignia.
Blue and orange is the color of New York?
Blue and orange are the official colors of the city of New York. It's on the flags, and yep, absolutely.
And it's on their license plates as well. So you're absolutely
It dates
correct.
back to the Dutch, the House of Orange. Look at this. We're we're touching on all kinds of stuff here.
Yes.
We must say in passing that Le Grand Orange, a symbol of New York, passed away, Rusty Staub, Daniel, very recently. But I just wanted to make one point about that NY logo that was supposed to be the Giants NY. It was in the first year of the Mets, but that was changed a little bit over the years, or over the next year, and the little thing at the bottom tilts its way up. The old Giant logo NY, which isn't reproduced in any of the caps by New Era. If they're going to reproduce an old Giant cap, they use the Met NY, and I think that looks like hell. But that's another thing. It looks like
well, and also let me jump in. The construction on these things, back in the old days of John McGraw, these were pieces of felt that were cut out by a human being and slapped onto a wool cap, and now, of course, they are embroidered and mass-produced, so the world changes.
Well,
and there's something called, here's the word, and I may be mispronouncing it, it's called Osterling, and it is the webbing inside the panels in the front, the sweat thing in the front, and that has cheapened over the years in caps. And plus, even if you can get a wool cap today, the quality of the wool has cheapened. And you know what? I miss flannel uniforms. And can you tell the story? Do you know the story of Ken Singleton, who was the last person to wear a flannel uniform in the majors?
Yes. If I'm not mistaken, Kenny Singleton, I think he was playing with the Expos 1972, if I'm not mistaken,
I think it was
allergic.
I think it was, something like, right after the Mets won the World Series, shortly after the Mets won the World Series.
He was allergic to the new double-knit uniforms, and so, for a short period of time, half a season perhaps, I could be wrong on that, don't quote me, but he wore flannels, yeah.
Exactly, and you, my friend, have a bunch of minutia in your brain that...
I always say it's taking up at the expense of stuff that's far more important. But
exactly, of course, but you can't really put your finger. If you had to be asked, what is far more important? You've heard that there are things far more important, but there really aren't.
No, you're right, and as long as it's not at the expense of paying the mortgage or just keeping up with what we need to keep up with. But we need to. Speaking of important, Nancy had a question.
Get in the way.
I want to know where people can buy Todd's book.
All right, my book is available, as we say, at Barnes & Noble, at Amazon, and wherever books are sold. I have signed copies with some prints on my own website, toddradom.com, TODDRADOM. And then I'm going to be doing some signings along the way this summer. Nancy, I know you were up in Cooperstown last year, and I will be following in your footsteps this summer.
Really? Are you part of their 2018 series?
I am. I have just booked it.
Oh, I'm so excited for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I just loved it. I thought, how do I get back here? Okay, we have to have Finley inducted. That's how.
Well, yeah, you better believe it. And I hope that, history has a very long arc, as people say. And I think that for multiple reasons he is deserving, and I do hope that it's sooner rather than later.
I do, too. And
right, and I hope if they put him in, they could take Tom Yorkie out for being a racist bastard and screwing up the Boston franchise.
His name was removed today from the street in front of Fenway Park. That is official as of today.
Whoa. Nice.
Yep.
Nice
breaking news. Yep.
That is good. Well, this will be
terrific.
online.
What
this
can
podcast
I say?
will be. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Hey, would you come back sometime and honor us again, Todd?
I would come back anytime. This is a conversation between the three of us that could last for hours and hours and hours. So
yes,
I would be honored to.
Thank you so
terrific.
much. Thank you, my friend.
Oh, thank you, my friend. And Ralph, it was great meeting you here, and thanks so much for having me today.
Thanks, my friends.
We should let Todd go because he has to.
See, everybody has friends on this show. It's nice.
I don't want to keep you too long today because I know you're on a schedule.
Yes, and I will be on the train commuter train into New York City. I'll be passing by where the Polo Grounds once stood, and I'll be thinking about this conversation.
Oh, wow. Well, go down the brush stairway someday just to warm the cockles. They have home plate down that stairway right in the middle of the tenements. You might be armed guard when you go there. You might.
Hey, the neighborhood's coming back. I've been over there.
I kid. It is coming back, and it's historic. You could walk around the corner on St. Nicholas Boulevard, and you can see where Willie played stickball out in front of the boarding house that he lived with the kids.
Yep.
I want to remind everyone to get Todd's book. And what is the title of it?
The title is Winning Ugly, a visual history of the most bizarre baseball uniforms ever worn. My publisher is Skyhorse Publishing / Sports Publishing. And like I said, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, wherever books are sold.
Oh,
all right. Everyone. Great show, both of you, and we'll be back next time.
Thank you.
Adios, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. All right.